Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for coming along. I'll jump straight in very shortly with introducing our wonderful debaters. I can see that Anna is here twice because, of course, Cecilia came in using her login. So don't worry if you're confused and thinking there are two Anna Pireses. Everyone's like, "Whoa, isn't one enough?" No, one Anna Pires is not enough. There's no debate. We need more of them. Um, so, without further ado, I'm going to introduce these wonderful people. I set them a homework task to reduce their bios down to 12 words because why not? Who doesn't love homework tasks? Some of us didn't do it until the last minute, but I'm not naming any names, Alastair, so don't worry about that. I'll keep that a secret. That's between us. But they did all come in, so I will briefly introduce. I'll start off with the against team. Okay, I'm going to call them the blue corner, even though they're not both wearing blue. One of them is. So the blue corner, who are in this case against homework, we've got Cecilia Cabrera. She's an educational consultant with expertise in bilingual education, differentiation, and inquiry-based pedagogies. That was good. I'm quite warm now. I don't. I might take off my cardigan, so apologies in advance if it starts getting steamy in here.
I've been
Then we
waiting
have.
for that moment, actually.
I thought so. I thought so. Then we have Ana Pires, who has the surname of one of my favourite ever footballers. She is also just a genuinely lovely person. She's a course book author, a teacher trainer, and the mindfulness SIG coordinator for API over there in Portugal. She's been working with teens and kids for around 30 years. So basically, since I was a teen, it's nice to be able to remember that I was one of those once. So that's the against team. And now the for team in the red corner, because Fee is wearing red there, I can see. She obviously got the memo, Alistair. Um, I joke. So Fiona is a lecturer on international programs at Hereford University and Oxford. I didn't write down the universities on my list there because she gave me slightly more than 12 words. So I tried to cut it down and then I felt guilty. She's also the author of Teaching Teenagers. She is the co author with her podcast co host, one of my favorite people, Teresa Bestwick. You should definitely check out that podcast. It's available on YouTube, and it's Tea with Fee and Tea, where they drink tea and they talk about stuff. I actually got into it yesterday, so that was pretty fun. I reckon everybody else should as well. Finally, last but by absolutely no means least, we have the wonderful Alastair Grant, whose name I accidentally spelt with an I instead of an A, which it's okay because it's only on my personal document. He is a Delta trainer. He's an ELT author, and he is fueled by caffeine and absolutely unnecessary literary purchases, which I feel is a beautiful description. And if you're going to buy something unnecessary, why not make it literary? And that rhymed, so I guess that makes me a poet. Anyway, we are going to start very shortly. It's a simple debate. We're going to start with opening statements. Then we're going to basically duke it out. We're going to have a little fight in there. We do have a few questions that we may follow, we may not. And then we're going to end with some closing statements. Warning in advance, if you talk too much, I might interrupt, which would be good if someone did that to me as well. So we're going to start with the opening arguments for four. So if you would like to take the stage for opener, the stage is yours. I am going to be quiet now.
That's me, isn't it?
That is you, Alistair. It is you. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't do my homework, so I didn't check. Hello, everybody. Okay, I've got a question for everyone, not just the panelists here, but for everybody present, because I see we've got like 60 something people. And I don't know if they're able to write in the chat, actually. I know the panelists are able to write in the chat. Well, if they are, good. Fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So let me just switch my chat view to everyone so I can see everyone's. Okay. So I just want you to write yes or no in the chat. Have any of you ever done anything like a sport or a musical instrument or a hobby that has involved practice? Yes or no? Don't see any no's in the chat. I think I'm going to leave my defense here, Harry.
A
No, I'm
bold
joking. I'm
statement.
joking. I'm joking. I will not leave my defense here. I'm going to tell you a story, though. Brief story. Don't worry. Hang on. The cardigan's coming off. Um, Brief story, and it's a true story. I'm really proud of this student. Actually, this is not an English language teaching story. Incredibly, it's a story that's got actually nothing to do with language teaching, anyway. But it does have to do with teaching. I'm not going to mention her name because she's going to be pretty famous in a few years' time. But this student of mine, who's in fourth year at the school where I run the English department, recently got admitted to the Argentine national team for football. And, obviously she's delighted. She's 15 years old now. She's delighted. Her mum told me, her mum sent me a message. Normally I get messages from parents. I think, no, come on, really? Why? And she was like, no, my daughter, insert name here, has just been accepted to the Argentine national team for football. And she sent me like a picture of her playing in her Argentine kit, etc. La Selección. And I saw her because she came to school a couple of days later. And I asked her about it and about her coaching system, etc., etc. And because she always went to coaching like 3 afternoons a week, and I said to her, "Wow, that's a lot, isn't it? 3 afternoons a week training for football." And she said, "Yeah, that's just the coaching sessions. Because if I just go to coaching, then I don't improve like I should be. I should be practicing on my own." And it made me think of this debate, really. I think any of us to do by a teacher, because obviously she's got her own coach as well. But outside of that, if we're not doing that, then we're not going to get as good as we should. But more importantly than that, we're not going to have the autonomy that practice builds. And I think for me, that's one of the most important reasons why homework is important for students. I think one of the big problems is it's called homework, which is a scary word. I'm going to shut
I'm gonna have
up.
to
Sorry,
stop you
Harry.
now. You went over by at
I'm
least
done.
a minute, which is outrageous.
Oh
Um,
dear me.
I
Gosh, you
know.
should have
Um,
muted me, Harry.
I'm gonna give you detention, which is another thing that maybe should
Not
be done.
again. Not
Yes, I
again.
know. So we're going to hand over to the opening statement for the against team. I am going to go quiet. If you go a bit over 2 minutes, I'm going to let you off this time, but purely because Alastair went over. So otherwise I wouldn't be so generous.
Cecilia and I haven't decided, but actually, I'm going to use the last thing that Alistair said, which he's kind of reading my mind, which is homework, the word homework. I did a session recently called My Words, My World, because I do think that words matter. And when we think of the word homework as opposed to housework, when we think of housework, it's kind of, we're thinking of the structure of the house. Um, and it has a lot to do with survival, cooking, cleaning. But when we think of home, it's so much more than that. We've got family, we've got comfort, we've got that safe place. And as educators, do we have the right to invade that space? Um, also, school is supposed to be the great equalizer, isn't it? When they come to school, in the ideal world, they have access to the same content, to the same resources. They're entitled to have support from the teacher. But what happens when they go home? You know, Do we know that they have those resources? Who's to say they have support? We're talking about children and teenagers. They still need support. Do they have parents who can support them? Or siblings? Also, thinking about linguistically, and I've had that problem that many parents saying, I cannot help my kids with English because I don't know English. So are we creating a greater divide here? Also, I'm just going to bring it in my context. I work with Portugal. I live in Portugal, but I work with developing countries in the Lusophone world. So I write course books for countries in Africa. I work with Angola, Mozambique, Cabo Verde. I also work with East Timor. So I work with a whole other reality, and often it's very Eurocentric, or Western world. And we forget that probably the majority of the children come from developing countries, come from another world. So their life outside of school is survival. And then, remember, they have long commutes. They go home, they're still, they go and fetch water. There's a great gender divide there because girls still have to go home to do chores because they're expected to. When are they going to do the homework? Who's going to support them? And I mean, we can say, for example, that we can give them homework like internet and, finding something nice online. But the kids I work with, they don't have internet. If they have electricity power, they're quite lucky. They might have one device, and when I mean a device, it's a phone for the whole family. So I just want to bring the spotlight to those countries, which is the reality that I'm working with right now, because I think it's really important, perhaps looking at the majority. So outside of school, often it's survival. But those children, let me just say this, that when they're not working, when they actually have free time, it's not screen time. It's very communal. They're still out there playing as a community. Do we have the right to take that away from them? For me, that's the ideal world. Children outside playing in a community.
Okay.
Also,
I'm sorry. You've,
Was that longer than
Henry,
me?
Henry,
constructive
I'll call you
interruption there.
Henry.
There you go, constructive interruption. So we're gonna move on to the moment where we've all been waiting for, where we're gonna take the gloves off. Things are gonna get messy, and the floor is basically open. But I want to open it with a quick question, and that is: do teachers give homework because it's useful or because it's a habit that nobody has ever questioned? So if we'd like to start with that, I can see Cecilia's got a hand up there. She's ready. She's raring to go. So
Hmm.
if you want to jump in there, Cecilia, feel free.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, that was actually what I was trying to figure it out, making the difference between busy work, that many times I can see teachers asking the students to just complete the unit for homework, the unit from the book. So you go ahead, exercise 2, 3, and 4, you do it for homework, and then we come back and check that and move on. Careful there. Aren't we sort of sharing too much the responsibility on the family, on parents, on whoever might help the children to go through those activities? And what is the benefit from there? And I can say from my experience that in early years in primary, research has showed that there's no advantage whatsoever in cognitive development in children. So what's the point of sending homework? Many times we find teachers sending homework because parents are asking for homework sometimes. Because as they went to school long ago and they used to have homework, their children should have. No questions whatsoever if it is beneficial or not. And so many things come here. The issue of the family getting into the matter. And I have seen sort of battlefields at home, virtual battlefields, because who takes care of the child with a piece of homework and who is helping? I have no information. And the child doesn't know what to do. Oh, man, we don't need that. We don't need the children going through all that because they have to complete a unit. It's not necessary. We can do it in class, providing the appropriate support, providing the guidance and scaffolding they need. We don't need parents arguing and complaining and wow, too much for the kid.
What do you think about that, Fee?
Picking up on two things now, okay? You said, so I'm gonna wag my finger here. You said that parents expect kids to have homework because the parents had homework when they were kids, and it's fair to assume that classrooms have changed since the parents were kids, and so homework should change. As far as I'm concerned, it's a no-brainer. I think that, and I give my students homework, but I hated homework when I was a kid. Absolutely loathed about 90% of it, but there was a percentage I enjoyed. So I don't give my students the same kind of homework. They don't need all of this gap fills and tick boxes and stuff that they need help from. And homework buddies is my solution to the who's got help at home and who hasn't. Because, I mean, I didn't have help with my homework when I was a kid. I was a latchkey child, and it had a massive effect on my capacity to do homework. So now as a teacher, I pair, we use pairs in the classroom. So I use pairs for homework as well. The ones that, they're going to be friends with, they walk home with or whatever. So for me, I'm obviously on the same side as Alastair because I do think they need the extra practice. I think it's a great equalizer as well, homework, in the sense that the ones who are not keeping up in class can get that help, but they can get it from their classmates and they can get it from their community. So it's also building rapport and it's improving the relationships in the class. So there you go, homework buddies, and get your homework up to date. Don't keep the homework in the past. Excuse me, I've got almost no voice.
Yeah, you sound like it needs a rest. You need to go and gargle.
I didn't recognize Fiona's voice.
No, I haven't got most of it.
I wouldn't recognize you.
Bad timing.
Yeah, but it's I think I was going to say it's assuming that they have homework buddies and they have those means to connect. Again, I've decided to think of a different context because for too many years I've been focused on, here, Portugal, and so I've decided to give
Been
voice
listening to you as well. I was working with Rwanda and stuff and Tunisia and these places, and this is where you realize they don't even have paper and pens.
I know. Also,
but then
exactly.
You do need to give them the opportunity. So for me,
but we're making assumptions. I'm speaking for myself when preparing. I just realized all the assumptions we make as teachers. First of all, we're assuming that homework, actually helps with learning. Does it? Or the homework we're giving
depends
them?
on the homework.
Well, but are we
Pardon me.
thinking, I'm just thinking in general, are we thinking about that? Are we assuming that the child has a place to do the homework? A quiet place. If I'm giving a piece of writing, an essay for homework, not essay, kids don't do essays, but you know what I mean. Do they have a place to sit quietly to do that? Do they have free time? And I was just thinking of autonomy. Sorry, I just have to say this. You were talking about autonomy. There's so much they do at home that promotes autonomy. Just helping with chores at home, making their bed, helping clean, helping with cooking, picking up litter. Isn't that a way of, I've got brownie points here. Isn't that a way of
It's an
promoting
obligation.
autonomy and responsibility? There's so many other things that's part of like the real world. Homework is not real world. Nobody wants to have homework. As adults, we don't want to take work home with us, do we? Why do we want our children to be doing things that we don't want to do? Is that fair? I don't know. Throwing it out.
Alastair, you've unmuted. It seems like you're ready, you're prepared.
Yeah, I didn't know whether I should or not yet. So I thought I'm going to unmute and then Harry will notice. So
there you go. I did, and I noticed. So please do. Go ahead.
Thank you. Now I'm going to pick up on what you just said, Anna, about the autonomy and the fact that, I mean, I agree with that. It is about the things that they're doing at home is helping foster their autonomy. And I think that's a really good reason why homework should be given. I think the problem is the name and the thoughtlessness that often goes behind it. The problem is not homework itself. Let's call it something else. Let's call it course practice. Let's call it something else. I can't think of a better name right now. But I think part of it is to do with the name. Right, fine, that works. Okay, that sounds much
give
better.
homework they can do in the shower, so I call it
See,
shower
you know
work.
what though, Fiona? That sounds great because if they're, I don't know, singing in English in the shower, that works for me because this is practice. The problem is the name. The problem is, okay, because I agree, go home and do page 42 of the workbook. I mean, I'm not saying that's not useful per se, but I think all these things need to be taken into account. Do they, like like you're arguing, and pick up on the other team's arguments, and I'm agreeing with them. Do you have a place to do it? Are you going to get support while doing it, etc.? But this is why parents and caregivers need to be more involved in the schooling system if we're talking about younger learners, because it's all to do with that as well. It's not about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as they say. The problem isn't the work they do outside of school. It's making sure they're supported to do that. Practice makes perfect.
And that it should be engaging, like any other
Indeed,
stuff you do
totally.
Like
I like the homework,
engage,
the shower work you've said. I love that.
Yeah, and if it's engaging, it'll work. Basically.
Excellent. I'm gonna hand over to Cecilia in a second, but I would like to pick up on a couple of the comments there. One was, I think it was power practice, which was from Michelle, which is a cool one. And there was another one in there, which was home learning from Jane. So they know that it's for them and not the teacher. So two nice ideas. I like the idea of shower work as well because
there's also me time. Somebody put me time, which I quite like.
Leandro put me time. Yeah.
So there you go. I'm going to hand over to Cecilia now because she was ready with a comeback there. So I apologise. I interrupted you. Very rude of me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we have one point here that is when we think about traditional homework stuff, completing the activity book, answering a questionnaire or whatever, filling the blanks, whatever. And another thing is something there's children, I'm thinking about children because it's my area of expertise. So what they can do at home that will bring knowledge or bring information or bring something to enrich the classroom, right? But they have no, hurry, no deadlines. They can do it on their own. Interview, I don't know, a family member, bring information from home, whatever. That is a different thing. Doesn't have this format of homework that we have, or at least I have. I'm older than you. I have from my when I was a child. So when we think about homework in a different perspective, from a different perspective, from a different point of view, saying, okay, I'm very fond of PBL, so let's go through PBL and let's go and find information out there and bring it. That is a different thing. Now, practice make perfect, do it in the classroom. If you want them to practice and improve, do it in the classroom. I'm sorry, that's my perspective.
And
you can guide them, you can scaffold, you can offer everything they need to practice as much as possible. And with their peers and all this calm environment, blah, 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 they need in the classroom, not at home. I'm not sure they will have the time at home. And what about playtime? And what about free time? They are not allowed to have free time. If they have free time, they have to do busy work, right? So they need free time and they need playtime. There is when they develop, So I'm very respectful and passionate. Sorry.
Excellent. So I think everybody wants something to say here. I think Anna unmuted first, and then Alastair did.
It's okay.
No,
Fiona's got a hand up.
I was about to say that Fiona put her hand up, which is what the rules are. You listen to the rules, so I am going to go to Fiona first.
Oh, thank you. It'll be short. I haven't got any voice. You were talking about children. I specialise in working with teens. And I think the practice in the classroom problem, it becomes a problem in the classroom with teenagers because they can feel very exposed if they need more practice in the classroom than some of their classmates. So again, shower work, or shower learning, they go and they do their practicing that is their homework, is to practice whatever it is, do a tongue twister, sing a song, something like that. But it takes the pressure off them in the room, and they can kind of can't even think now, sorry. They can control the amount of time they put in, the amount of practice they need, and then with their buddy, then they're I'm getting panicked because it's somebody else's turn. But yeah.
But
It's
you're
a
right.
slightly different issue with primary and secondary, that's all. It's the sense of being exposed and vulnerable and different in the secondary class. So that is worth giving, and I feel it's almost necessary to give them something that they can do at home, and it'll really help them build their confidence as well as their language.
Excellent. I'm going to hand over to Anna now, and then we're going to have our closing arguments. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Anna here. Make it powerful, Anna.
Oh, well, I'm gonna latch on to what Fiona said, because I do agree with a lot of what Fiona is saying here. But I don't think that's homework, And like one of the things I think we should be sending home is things that require thinking. Because sometimes the classroom, it's not enough. We don't have the right conditions, but sending them home with a question just to think, and the shower is the perfect place to think. I mean, when we're preparing for workshops or training, isn't that what happens? Don't we need that? And then we have something to bring to the classroom that makes it more constructive. So, but that's not homework for me. I think that's more like, you know, giving them that space to think. I just want to bring in another situation, and it's based on my experience with children. Like children who have ADHD and are on medication, you know that it wears off at a certain time, and then there's that crash. So I used to teach from 5 o'clock on when I was in a language school, and I had children that were extremely difficult at that time. They couldn't focus. They couldn't, and I found out it was that crash when it wears off. And I'd speak to the parents, what do I do? And they're like, do you want us to more medication? Like, no, 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 please, no. I'd rather have them. So I had to do research on what I could do with these children because it broke my heart. So is it fair to give them more work to do at home when they just need to rest and play, as Cecilia says, which is there's that just adds to their well-being and their health. I mean, it is health. So yeah, I just wanted to think of those children as well that just need to rest after school.
Excellent. So it is time for our closing argument. And as the fours went first, then they can go last this time. So we're going to go with the against can start the closing arguments, and then the fours will follow. So when you're ready with your closing argument against team, I'm guessing it's going to be Cecilia this time. So please feel free. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Now, what I want to say is that maybe I believe what we need is to offer the students, children, teenagers, opportunities to develop differently according to their needs and their contexts. So what I believe is traditional homework, the ones they used to send me. I didn't do homework. Sorry. I have to recognize that. I've had an issue with homework since then. So what I believe is we need to offer them opportunities and possibilities and make them choose, right? I understand that some students do not have at home the time, the space, the context where they can concentrate and work and whatever. So we can offer that in the classroom if possible, or at school, maybe not in the classroom, but at school. But on the other hand, the more we can do with the students in the classroom would be better. Moreover, if we're talking about the little ones, right, early years and primary, they need us, and we need to respect their free time. We need to respect play. Is essential. Inside the school, outside the school, anywhere, at any time, right? So there is where they are going to process the learning and they're going to grow and develop their cognitive skills. So please take care of that playtime and free time for the little ones. And for the teenagers, I guess they need more time to work together with the teachers.
Okay, there you go. I was about to interrupt you. I thought I'd give you those extra few seconds. So
Okay.
the final closing for homework. I don't know where she is for me here. So one of these areas. B, over to you.
Right, I've written it down. I've done my homework. As a person who hated homework 90% of the time as a kid, I now favour it. It is an opportunity for solo work, thinking and processing in increasingly socialised, i.e., pair work, classrooms, allowing for equity and inclusion. It allows for personalised, targeted work on weaker areas. It allows for creativity and shining in areas that may make students feel vulnerable in the class. It can improve rapport and relationships, both with classmates and with the teacher, depending on how you give your feedback to the homework. I've got lost in my notes, 1 second. And it can be designed for these, as well as increasing language exposure, usage, and processing, obviously. The problem with homework isn't homework per se. It's, and I'm going to pick up on what you said, it's the name and the tendency for teachers to leave the boring bits for homework. So if we spice it up and it's useful and bond building and appreciated, it's definitely a thing that we should be including.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody. This is a debate that I imagine could have probably gone on for at least 3 or 4 hours, and I would have loved that. But
And
we
we
are
would have
going to draw it
agreed with each other.
yeah, I am going to draw these things to a close, and by the power vested in me by myself, I am going to say that as a parent, as a teacher, I hate the homework that is currently sent. This idea of what homework is generally bad. So that homework needs to go in the bin. 100% rubbish homework does need to go in the bin. But as we mentioned right at the top with Alastair talking about practice, it's so essential, but particularly when learning a language. So having the opportunities to work on what you have learned or work on what you need to learn on is essential to learning. So homework, no, but work outside of the classroom that you maybe do in your house, absolutely yes. So I think we can all agree that everybody is right here. And there does really need to be an awful lot of work done, particularly by those teachers who do the page 64, do it at home because that's what it is. We need to deal with that because that's awful. And we need to do more power practice and home learning for the win, as you say. So thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to hand back to the moderator's moderator. And a huge thank you to all of our speakers for coming along. And here comes Leandro to tell you what's happening next.
Thank you, Harry.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank
Harry. Thank you, everyone.
everybody.
A pleasure.
Thank
Loved it.
you.
Thank
Pleasure.
you.
That was very diplomatic of you, Harry. It was a yes and a no at the same time.
Yeah, that's me.
Thank you for being here, all of you. I hope to see you soon. I know I'm going to see some of you face to face, probably in Brighton next year, if not earlier. So thank you so much for giving so generously of your time. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, the 4 panelists. Lovely work.